All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
The goal of this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire to Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire to Wire. Live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts. You know what all the cool kids are doing these days? Listening to podcasts. And what does Toxic Radio have? Podcasts, duh.
Just as I thought.
Go to toxicradio.net and check out our weekly schedule for the lineup of great shows. Miss any of them live? No worries.
Thank God, dude.
We're on all the top podcast platforms, or just find them at toxicradio.net or on the free app. The choice is yours. Be cool or not.
We're gonna be cool.
Toxic Radio. Get the podcasts.
Get infected.
Does the real world seem unsatisfying?
It's boring, but it's part of my life.
Well, it's time to level up and reboot reality. Join Toxic Mike and Demonoid as they explore the ever-evolving world of virtual reality and everything it has to offer. Whether you're just starting out or you've been there from the beginning, Reboot Reality will introduce, educate, and guide you to the best in VR. Find it wherever you get podcasts at toxicradio.net or on the free Toxic Radio app. Reboot Reality. Log in and get immersed.
Nation, we are live. I am broadcasting from video, but my wonderful, amazing co-host is live from Toxic Radio Studio for another amazing Wednesday of Hungry for Hope. Angela?
Hello, hello. Straight out of chemo.
Straight out of chemo. I love your shirt. I see you brought the jacket back from round 4.
Yeah, that was round 4. That was the roller skating video that people loved. Yeah.
So you just got done chemotherapy round 6 yesterday.
6 yesterday. Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna be talking some about that, but anybody tuning in, you know, they might have not seen Hungry for Hope. They might have stumbled upon it. They might ask what the hell this is. So, you know, Hungry for Hope, you were obviously my co-host, my amazing co-host. I am Donnie Hart, the host. This show is all about hope and inspiration. You know, we try to really give that hope to people down there at their lowest in life, or people who are doing good but just need that hope. My story is a story of hope. I lost my brother in 2014, lost basically everything in my life by 2015. I was hopeless. And, you know, life just wasn't very good, and I could have really used hope, and I was lucky enough to get some hope. We had Susan Pastor on last week. She was my hope on my hopeless days. But we use Hungry for Hope now to spread that hope. I was grateful to get out of them dark times back in 2015, and life slowly gotten better and better. And I made a promise to myself I'd always go back and try to help people if I ever got out of that situation that I thought I never would get out of. So it was kind of just a promise I made to nobody about nothing. And here I am stuck with it. And, you know, I'm a man of my word. And then Angela came on as a guest.
Yes.
Back 6 weeks ago, say?
Was it? I know it was, it was February.
Yeah,
no, March.
February.
Somewhere around there.
You had, I follow everything by your videos. You had just done your chemo Valentine's Day video.
Yes. Yes, that was a classic one. I love that one so much. There's so many sarcastic, funny undertones to that Valentine's Day one. So you guys got to really go back and look at that one. That was
Yeah,
potentially my first video.
absolutely. That some of them videos were some of the things I came across because your story, like my story is hope from losing my brother and some of the other stuff I faced and all that. But your story is somebody who faced lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer in November. You were diagnosed, and here
Yeah.
you are finishing round 6. You came on the show, you shared your story of hope, and we couldn't get rid of you, and you're still here.
You're stuck with me now. I'm sitting in your
Yeah,
seat today
it
too,
was a
Donnie.
one deal. It was a one show deal.
Yeah, yeah. But people just can't seem to get enough of me. I don't know why. But I
I
am
don't know why
sitting in
either.
I'm sitting in your seat today. I told you at some point I was
Oh,
going to
I
get it.
noticed.
And now you're away and I got it. But I knew you weren't going to be here and I didn't want to be lonely. So I did bring someone to visit the studio today.
Show us who you brought to visit.
So I just want everyone to say hello to Sunny. Sunny here was a champ yesterday and really sung, a great tune. We sang I Got You Babe for round 6 yesterday. I do not have my Cher garb on today. Obviously, I was not feeling too hot today, so I didn't want to do the whole garb. But Sunny says hello. Sunny appreciates all the great positive feedback. We brought Sunny back to life because that chemo machine is keeping me alive. So I wanted to show him some love. The last video I did, I exercised the poor chemo machine and we did an exorcism and I had to show the chemo machine some love this time. So Sunny says hello.
So tell us, I know because I'm your co-host. I came, started seeing your videos back in February or whatever. And you do the chemotherapy. For anybody who doesn't know, you do chemotherapy, but one of the tools you have used during your fight with lung cancer has been humor, positivity, because this is everybody knows, especially stage 4 lung cancer, it is something that has that black cloud over people. Kind of, there's not a lot of positivity. So you changed up the book. You can't change the fact that you got handed this. Nope. This stage 4 lung cancer, but goddamn, you can control how you handle it, how you let other people see you handle it. So that's basically what you've done. So now you're doing the chemo videos. Tell us about the chemo videos and get up until this week's.
Oh my God. So, I just can't, it sucks because every chemo round, you're super anxious leading up to it. Like Monday night, right before chemo, I go for blood work. I did meet with my oncologist on Monday and Dr. Rockowitz, he is just such an amazing man. But you have such a huge level of anxiety every time you go in. And I really don't really decide definitely I'm going to do another round, but I was so excited to dress up as Cher, and mind you, I practiced for hours in my house to lip sing that entire song and what my part was and the whole dance, and I studied her images, so I made sure I had like the whole outfit, and that's really kind of what got me going in the morning. I was anxious, but I also was super excited to see how this go. We did that. My friend Sandy, thank you for coming with me and not laughing during the whole thing because it was her first video that she did with me in chemo, and it's just, it helps me so much because I want to make people laugh, and that's kind of all I want to do, and I look forward to it. So it helps with my anxiety too.
So when you first did these videos, what was the first one?
The first one, because remember, my first 3 rounds I had to go by myself because COVID precautions were still, so the first
anybody
rounds,
people who don't know chemotherapy, so tell us, we'll get into what you do with the videos. Tell us the everyday in chemotherapy. How's a normal chemotherapy session during COVID and not during COVID? Just give everybody not everybody knows exactly how it is.
So everyone's routine is kind of different, so I can only speak for myself. When I did my first initial 4 rounds, my chemotherapy routine consisted of 3 days. So Monday was always lab work, blood work. Tuesday, you come back in for IV chemo where they access your port. which is surgically inside my chest, and they just kind of shove the needle in there, and I have a catheter that goes up through my neck. I don't know if people can see that. There's still some surgery glue. That's kind of your port in the chest. And then you get your IV chemo and you leave. Wednesday, I always had to return and get another chemo shot, and it was kind of just a shot that doesn't go through the port. You just get a shot in your arm. That was my first 4 rounds. Now I'm on what they're calling maintenance chemo, so it's 2 days instead of 3 days.
So it's 2 days instead of?
Yeah,
What's the
because I
difference
don't
between
have to. My lab work has been good, so that shot on a Wednesday was really like for my white blood count. And as long as my white blood count stays pretty good and it doesn't go too high or too low, then I no longer need that. That is a white blood count. It pulls bone marrow from your bones. So, and I think that's why I had so much skull pain my first 4 rounds, because it's literally pulling bone marrow from my skull. So I no longer have that. I may need to have it introduced at some point, so that 3rd shot is gone. And also the carboplatin, which is the most toxic, my body can only handle 4 rounds of those. So that's why we are now officially on what they're calling a maintenance chemo.
So how is it going into this chemotherapy? Because you brought the videos and you brought the positivity and the laughter. Is it something, would you say, normally where there's kind of a feeling of, people being down a little? Is it like a darker mood?
The waiting room, because you walk in and you're in a waiting room before they take you back and they do your vitals and you meet with the oncologist, you get your weight checked, you have to do a whole bunch of other things, but you're in a waiting room with everyone else who's there for kind of pretty much the same thing. And, it's hard to go in there and not, you feel a lot of different emotions. I know there's some emotions, and I was just telling my mom this. I said, I am the youngest one in that waiting room literally every time I go in. And I get a little depressed, because I know I'm not the only young chick in the world getting chemotherapy. They just don't happen to be there when I'm there. And, it's like, it's depressing because I'm young. But then there's the other thing where you look around and you get this sense of hope, because, here everyone's kind of fighting that fight, and they show up for that fight no matter how old you are or how down you're out. And there's a lot of sick people in that waiting room. And then once you're done there, they call you back and you kind of have and it's beautiful. So I'm over there at the Sydney Kimmel Center, and it's absolutely gorgeous over there. And you have your own, they have a couple private rooms, but you have your own space. They have TVs. The setup is beautiful. And all the nurses are just fantastic and super skilled. But, you walk down that hallway and you see some people who, are so ill sitting in that chemo chair. And I think to myself, it could be so much worse, because the chemo has made me so much better than where I was in January. November, December, January. I didn't start really feeling any positive effects from the chemo, if you can even say there's positive effects, that it's working for me, until end of February, beginning of March.
So you're feeling the chemo, you would say? How's it affected you since you started?
I can swallow food so much better. So much better, incredibly better. I wasn't able to swallow, and it would get stuck. I had hiccups consistently before we had, the chemotherapy. Those are more random now. My chest pain is more random. My rib cage pain is it's hard right now because I do have some consistent fluid back on my lungs. So we're kind of monitoring that. So I do have a little bit more pain in my rib cage area and in my back where the lung sits on the right-hand side, because I am carrying around some fluid. And the doctor knows I don't want to get it drained, but then I don't really. My only option if I refuse to get it drained, and they're terrible options, is you can either get a drain surgically inserted into your side, so they're not always jabbing you in the back and draining you. I don't want that either, or I just drown in my own fluid, and that's not a good alternative either. So when the time comes, if the time comes that my lung has to be drained for the second time. Because we all remember my first time was not fun. And that's why I don't want to have to do it again. But if I do, I'm just going to have to put my big girl pants on and get it done the regular way. Praying it doesn't come to that.
So, other people, obviously, they're going through, you've described this chemo and how it is. If they're in there doing it, a lot of them, let's face it, you've been able to put this positive, but a lot of them are going to be beaten. They're going to be people who life just hit them with an unfair punch and they're feeling down. And, I can relate it to even when you go somewhere like prison or you're around people, everybody in prison, a lot of them get there because some horrible things in their life happen, the death of a loved one, maybe they lost a loved one to cancer, whatever. And when you get all the people around there who have gone through bad things, maybe they did them themselves in life, you kind of get that energy, that negative energy. It feeds off each other. So if you're around a lot of people or you're in cancer, I feel like that energy, the people around you, just in life, when we choose who we put around us in life, that energy can change. Do you feel when you bring this positive energy, you bring something? You're probably the first person to roller skate in the chemotherapy, I would guess.
Yeah.
And
the one nurse was like,
the
one nurse was like, I have been here 25 years and I have never, ever had anyone put on roller skates a day in my life. And, here I am skating down that hallway.
Even the nurses, they become connected with you guys. They become connected with their patients. Seeing somebody with such a serious thing of cancer and coming in that way, have you noticed the way you've handled this and the way you do this? Have you noticed it bring up the spirits of other people, maybe other patients, people helping you?
Absolutely. So this past, every time I've been coming in the past, I want to say 3 or 4 rounds, everyone, even the male nurse that takes my weight and just my simple vitals, he's like, you're that girl. What do you have going on today? Everyone wants to know. And then they stop by my room. They want to see me dressed. And this, with the Sonny and Cher, I had to go to the bathroom so incredibly bad that I couldn't. I wanted to change out of my full costume, but my friend Sandy's like, just do it. And next thing you know, the door opens. There's a bunch of nurses. They're like, you have to go to every station and say hello to the cancer patients, and you have to stop at every nurse's station dressed to the T. And this is what we did. And the smiles and the laughter, and it made me realize why I do the shenanigans that I do every chemo round, because, it's not just helping me. I just like to make people laugh. I always have that. And basically that's kind of how it goes.
Allie said you're a rock star. That's who you are. Thanks for tuning in, Allie.
She's great.
Allie Pistachio. I'm going to say the name wrong. Oh, there's Maria. Proud
Mom.
proud of you.
Yeah.
I think she's talking to you. She might be talking to me. Maybe both of us. I'm proud of Angela. Maria, so awesome to have you tuning in. But best video ever, they're saying. So tell us about the video, the best video ever, the one you just did.
And it's funny how these videos come to me, and they kind of just pop in my head when I'm having really bad issues sleeping, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And this one, I love to do share, but I decided, there was something I had to show some love to the chemo machine finally, and I couldn't think of anything better than I Got You, Babe. And it was just perfect. And I had, everything ordered, everything set. I watched Cher's videos, did my makeup, did everything just like the video. And I couldn't have been more happy with the outcome of that video. But they all come just, I can't even explain. They just pop into my head and I write them down and I kind of just make it work. There is going to be a 7th round, and I will tell you why there is going to be a 7th round is because I'm starting to get requests from people. So I want to combine kind of 2 of the requests, but I also don't want to break my neck either. So I have to be very careful. But there's numerous requests of the same thing kind of coming in. So I'm going to try to do something creative to, make sure I get those requests to people for this next one.
Now people are loving these videos. They're tuning in. Do you feel like sometimes we might do things for one reason? You started these videos to bring that, but now these people requesting, these people actually watching these videos, I feel like these are the people who are even giving you more fight, and that's maybe not the reason you started these videos, but having these people, the way they reacted, wanting to see more videos, I feel like it's just feeding your fight. It's feeding that fire, making it bigger and bigger.
100%, because the first thing I think of in the morning is not, oh shit, here I go for chemo. I'm just starting to feel really good, and of course I'm gonna go back to chemo to voluntarily get sick again from the chemo, which usually happens tomorrow, so I'm waiting for that. And it's the first thing I think of, and not too long ago we talked about on the podcast the whole horrific traumatic thing I had with the insurance company and them saying I couldn't get the chemo, and for viewers who haven't seen that podcast, go back and look at it. It was a very an emotional time, and my first thought wasn't me. My first thought was like, people are expecting a video from me. What do you mean I can't go get chemo today? I have to get chemo. And then the other part of me was like, oh fuck, like, do you guys not understand that this chemo is keeping me alive? I can't miss chemo. So, it's really kind of the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, and I'm constantly thinking of, like, and some people don't get my humor all the time, and they probably think I'm just really morbid, and I'll put, some memes up all the time about, dying and people at my funeral, and I have a whole slew of memes and funny jokes to put up, and it's just, sometimes people think I'm just morbid, but to me it's funny. You have to have that icebreaker, and because people are so uncomfortable talking about this kind of thing. You have a terminal illness.
We mentioned that before on the show, how, and that's why I bring this up, and that's why I ask the questions, and we talk about some stuff that may be uncomfortable for you, but you're willing to do because you're opening up doors and you're letting people see how things go that they might before be a little nervous about talking about. I feel like that happens, and we mentioned like when my brother passed.
Yeah.
People, it was like the elephant in the room. People, they didn't know what to bring it up, not to talk about it. It's the same thing with the cancer and the chemo. People sometimes don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. They don't know what's right, what's wrong. They don't want to offend you.
Yeah.
I feel like these videos and you talking about it on the podcast has opened up to a lot of people who opened up how they can handle this.
Yeah, and
Have
I'm
you noticed
super.
that?
Oh my God, yeah, and I'm super grateful, and I'm grateful to you, Donnie, because this podcast has helped me not only spread awareness, but there's people who, are watching these podcasts, and they didn't realize this is my second time with cancer. They didn't realize I had a whole bunch of other traumatic stuff going on that they could really relate to as well. So, but I wanted it to also show, like, yeah, you can have these horrific experiences, these traumatic experiences, and just, have life continuously knock you down with more and more, crap on your shoulders, and still kind of rise above.
Yeah, the scariest person in the world is that person who's been given every right to just stop, to stay knocked down. They've been hit, like you said, even before this cancer. You had a lot of other things in your life
Mm-hmm.
that happened that you talked about openly on the show. Your other cancer, cervical cancer, back in 2019, you openly shared the loss, the loss of the baby you had.
Yeah.
You talked about that and just other stuff throughout your life, just rough stuff that would break a lot of people. But that person who has all this stuff in life, and a lot of this stuff had nothing to do with anything you did wrong. It was just, it was just how it goes, man. We don't control that. And that person keeps on coming back, keeps on coming back. They're the most dangerous people. They are capable of some of the greatest things. They're the people who usually change this world. You look through at people who have been great in our time. They are people who've been knocked down more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in sports. That's just the facts. Some of the greatest people in history are people who just refuse to stop, refuse to give up when they had, like I said, you have the right. Nobody would say, "Oh, I understand." They would say that, but I don't think you deep down would understand, or you would be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard. And right before my diagnosis, I was just starting to kind of get back on my feet. I right before the diagnosis, I had another traumatic experience that'll probably be another, time for another day. And I was just starting to feel like myself. And just when you're starting to feel like yourself, it's boom, there's a massive, there's a massive mass in your lung and you have lung cancer. But the blows don't stop
And you're going
there.
through the pandemic too. You just got
The
done another cancer.
pandemic.
You're going through the pandemic, which is traumatic. It
Hmm.
kind of reminds me, you said you had some experience right before this, and you were starting to get over it, and you had gotten over the cancer. It reminds me, Janine Kirby, who we love, is always on this show. She talks about she had her biggest battle in life up until the one point was probably fighting her sobriety, and she tried so many times. It was a fight. Everybody is familiar with it. We have ourselves or loved ones or family. We know the fight of sobriety, and a lot of people will end up never winning that fight. And there goes Janine Kirby, who's a boxer, just an amazing, strong, powerful woman. She finally conquered. You never really conquered, but she was winning the fight against sobriety. She did everything right finally, and everything was happening. And then boom, she got hit with a traumatic brain injury. It had nothing to do with her addiction. She was years and years sober at the point, and I always ask her, like, how, after you've done all that stuff and you finally felt like you were getting somewhere, like, at any point I always ask her, did getting that traumatic brain injury, did it make you just feel like maybe this isn't worth it? And she said it made her stronger than ever. But I feel like you can relate to coming to
Oh
that
my
point. Let's be honest. I'm
God.
sure there's a point where you just said, like, why me? You might have said for a minute, just you get that second maybe alone where it's just a
Yeah,
lot going on.
of course, because like I was under so much stress and I have a very, very challenging career and it's 24/7, so I was really under so much stress. I'm just recently had a really horrendous, unexpected breakup and had to move out during a pandemic and find a whole new place to live during a pandemic, which I don't have to go into the retail market and the housing market at this point. Everyone knows and has been, so I was just starting to get settled. And then all of a sudden you get hit with this. And I'm like, well, shit. And then it wasn't just the diagnosis in November. I had to do a series of PET scans, MRIs, and the hits just kept coming and coming and coming. And things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And I remember telling my mom, like, yeah, I'm going to die. I might not make it to my 40th birthday. Like, that's how bad it was. And, I've had my moments, and we've talked about my moments multiple times. And then I just realized, you know what? Yeah, if I'm going to die at an early age, I want people to remember me just as that funny bitch. And maybe I will go viral when I finally pass away.
It's amazing just how you've handled this. Um, I'm sure so many other people who may be battling cancer now, maybe down the road, you never know. They're gonna see these videos. They're gonna see how you handled this, because something such as big as stage 4 lung cancer, I feel like that's like the one thing we always talk about. Like, people know. It's not like some disease people don't know. It's not like, some cancer people don't think that's serious. All cancer is serious, but
Right.
like, it's something people know. They know realistically, what they say the outcome is, and they know all that stuff. So it's not like you're fighting some silent or demon, something that people don't know. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody's probably seen a loved one, known somebody fight some kind of cancer, and they're watching you do something that they don't really see a lot.
Right.
Changing the script, deciding, you're gonna fight this, how you're gonna fight this. We always talk about Jimmy Vivano. Uh, I introduced you to him. I showed you that the speech, the Never Give Up speech. He was the
Fantastic.
coach for North Carolina State. He was just amazing guy. He was this underdog who won the NCAA championship, and he got cancer, and he gave a speech, and he got the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, and he was at ESPYS, and he gave that speech. That was always my brother's favorite speech, the Never Give Up speech, probably the most influential speech ever. One of mine, I love Dr. Martin Luther King, but this speech has gone on for years. He died, and he even says it in the speech, like, this is going to live longer than me. And I feel like that's kind of what you're doing with these videos, is everything.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Like, people hear, stage 4 lung cancer. Not all stage 4 lung cancers are the same. So there's a lot that goes into cancer. Not all cancers are the same. Not all breast cancers are the same. Not all stages are the same. It's just how they, their scientific backgrounds. Like, for instance, a lot of people don't know that I am not a candidate for radiation. I am not a candidate for surgery. I'm not a candidate for the chemotherapy pill. I am only a candidate for the IV chemo. And they don't know exactly where all the places my cancer is. Like, for example, it's in the artery. So we got to watch the heart, because I can go into, heart attack. It is the mass in my chest is grasped around my pulmonary artery, which is a very important artery. So hence that's why I can't have radiation, because if you shrink Large Marge, like we like to call her, because she's that big, if you shrink her too much, then she's just going to cut off those arteries, so you hear stage 4 lung cancer and people are like, oh my, I know so-and-so had stage 4 lung cancer. They had radiation. It shrunk, now in remission. That's not a possibility for me. So sometimes I get a little, sometimes people just have to be educated, and there's some things I keep to myself. I'm not always like, yeah, it's in my liver, it's in my diaphragm, it's in my larynx, my esophagus. Like, it's because I feel like sometimes I'm constantly repeating myself to where the point where sometimes I just go, no, I'm good, I'm okay today, because I don't want to complain either, and I don't want to have to constantly educate what kind of my cancer is looking like and what it's doing for me. And I think that's great that there's some people who have been given 2 years and they're still going, but it all depends on so many things.
Yeah, just like the one thing I see in your fight and what I take out of that speech we mentioned, the greatest quote in that speech, he said, cancer can take all my physical abilities, but it cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. And, I feel like you're living, walking, talking part of that speech, what he said. It's just like in anything in life. I tell people, these horrible things, yeah, you can't go back and change what happened. I've looked for time machines. I've tried to build ones. I tried to find people to build them for me. I have no luck, and I'm gonna tell you, nobody else is gonna have any luck as of now. You can't go back. You can't change. Bad things happen to good people. Tragedies happen. Sometimes we send ourselves, whatever that is in life. You can't change. I can't change the fact my brother passed away. I can't change the fact I was incarcerated. But you can control how you let this handle from now on. Even if somebody's out there and they might be getting beat up by cancer or some demons or some trauma they have in their life. Today can be the day you can take that thing. You could take that thing that has caused you to go down so far in life, that has beat you up over and over and over. That thing you might call your bad luck, or you just that why, and you can take and you can change the whole script. I can tell you that. I can promise that. Angela has taken this cancer, and yeah, she knows. We can't control some things. Our destiny's already written for us, in my opinion. But she's been able to control this much, and it's going to be something, regardless if she's here for another week, another million years. People are going to remember it. It's going to be her legacy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope so. But like I said, I would never take none of my traumatic experiences back. I mean, I really truly believe there's a reason for everything, and there's a reason why I'm here now, sitting in front of everyone, and with a terrible diagnosis, and it's made me such a better person. I can look back and think about, those grudges, those fights I had were really not even worth it. And you're healed by some traumatic things when you see things on social media and you have nothing but pride and happiness for that other person, and have how you know, because I'm Italian and we'll hold grudges till the death, and you know, I had to learn to let that stuff go, and but this has really shaped me into being a better person. And it was funny too, because right after chemo, I had to go to the bank because I'm still working on wills and getting things notarized, and because you know you're diagnosed with, there's things that have to be taken care of. You know, I don't want to, God forbid, something to happen to me, and then the state of New Jersey is going to just take whatever money I have, and that's not going to leave anything to bury me with. So there's things I have to do, there's actions I have to do, and I have to put someone on my all my bank accounts and things like that. So in the case that does something happens to me. So my friend Sandy and I went to the bank right afterwards to try to work some of that stuff out, get things notarized. And at the very end, this really quiet teller was like, I saw your roller skating video. And I was like, well, thank you. Did you enjoy it? He said it was awesome. It's fantastic. Really cool. And I'm like, well, thank you. So, and it's like, I didn't even think he would recognize me because I mean, I had my face mask on, and I'm probably the only one in New Jersey right now, or even across the world right now, who is wearing a face mask still. And I have to, you know, I have to actually double up. And I'm just waiting one day for someone to be like, you know, you don't have to wear a face mask. And I can be like, well, I've got cancer. So yeah, I kind of do. So, but no one, I think it's just my resting bitch face that no one really kind of says anything to me.
Yeah, like we said, you never know what battle somebody's going through, and so you know, somebody says, "I'll smack them for you."
Hey, listen,
But
what are you going to do? Throw me in a jail for smacking someone?
you know, you talk about we mentioned it on last week's show, and I really emphasize it. Like I didn't really understand this fully until Susan Pastor really kept on saying it. Like when I first got in my trouble, my brother had died, a tragedy, and then you know I split out with my fiance. I lost everything. I'm in jail, and all these horrible things, you know, happen. And I'm just like looking at them as like these horrible things, like how could these happen? And then people would always say, "Oh, we're sorry. You know, it sucks. We're sorry this happened." Susan was the first one who really said, "Hey, this happened. You know, be grateful this happened because this is part of something." I thought she was nuts, but she was the only person saying that. She said, "No, this is part of the plan. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in whatever, something bigger than you, whatever it is." But she was just saying, like, no, all this happened, all these things that are horrible, they're happening because whatever somebody has in store for you in life, which is something big, this is how they're going to get you there. Even like with my brother's death, he died, and people say it's all tragic. You go back through my brother's history, his social media, all his messages, everything he's ever left this world, it was basically of somebody who didn't want to be here forever. He didn't have this thing where he was gonna. None of his things talked about him growing old. You know, it was just him living an amazing young life and leaving a legacy. So you know, if I can get upset that he died, but maybe if this was what he wanted to leave this legacy, and the only one way was him passing away, and then the way his death affected me, that I could use that to grow into something, maybe hungry for hope, but something that's not just going to be remembered for me, but it's going to keep his legacy alive. So maybe these are, you know, maybe you prayed to somebody, you did whatever, that you want to leave some legacy, you want to do something, and for whatever reason, the only way you can get there is going through all these traumatic experiences, like you have gone through, Angela, like I have gone through, like other people. Sometimes it makes sense that we're going through this thing that doesn't seem like it makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a true believer with that because, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was last podcast. You know, so much that I had control over was completely stripped away from me. Literally every day from the day of my diagnosis. You know, I was out of the gym, and my identity to me was always being proud of being a CrossFit athlete and being able to do the workouts at the movements and handstand push-ups and all these things I was getting at the gym, how proud I was to have that stripped away from me so quickly. And, you know, I had to take a medical leave from work. So, you know, which was very much needed. But now I'm out of work because of medical reasons. So many things were just gone, and I had no control over except for my personal space, and that was even being invaded because there's poking, prodding, needles, tests, and it's just, you really feel out of control. And I remember going to bed and I said my nightly prayers and I said to God, like, I am feeling very, very hopeless and I need something. I need some kind of sign because I don't know who I am anymore. Because so many things have been taken away from me so quickly, like on an everyday basis. So you take that away. Who am I? I don't want my identity to be, the girl with terrible cancer. That's not how I want to live my life, So, and then it was the very next day where, I got up and I went to the gym and I said, I'm going to try to do my best. I cried after the gym, of course, because I'm restricted and I'm not physically capable. My mind, my body is fighting each other. It's a really, sometimes it's depressing and sometimes I leave there very proud. And then that night, Donnie, you reached out to me and now we have, Hungry for Hope and we're spreading all of this. And that to me is not a coincidence.
Absolutely. You talk about this, how your identity, I think we were talked about this not long ago. Your identity, you were known as this fit chick who you were a fitness coach. You were big into CrossFit, and then it's kind of being taken from you through this. It reminds us of one of our favorite guy, another one up there with Jimmy V, Inky Johnson.
Yep.
Inky Johnson's story is amazing. I'm going to talk about him forever. If you don't know who Inky Johnson is, look him up now. You're going to thank me. He's a motivational speaker. He was 7 games away from his dream. He played football at Tennessee. His whole dream was to make it to the NFL, take care of his mom and his grandmom, so he could take care of his family. They grew up poor in the ghetto, and he did everything right. He did everything. And he's a junior in college, and they said, Inky, you're going to be a top 30 pick. You're going to be a millionaire. Your mom's never going to have to work nothing. Everything he ever wanted. His identity was this football player, Inky Johnson, the football player. And second, third game of the season, he got paralyzed. He could no longer play football. His whole identity was taken from him, he thought. But he didn't realize, he says later, some of the tools he learned through football. He thought they were being taught to him just for football. Maybe you learn some things through things you don't do anymore, but maybe that was building him for something bigger. Maybe football was a vehicle for a little, but he learned things on that gridiron, on that field. And now his identity is literally Inky Johnson, like that motivational speaker.
Right.
And I always love his words.
I want to meet him so much. So if you are listening, Inky, we definitely want to meet you. Huge fan, huge follower I am of you.
Yeah, he was saying, I was listening to one of his speeches today, and it was just like, anybody can do good things when everything's going right. That's nothing special.
Right.
Because you're doing good when everything's going good. All right. What do you want, a cookie? Right. It's when things don't go as planned, when you spend your whole life doing what they said you had to do to make it to the NFL, and you do that. You're 7 games away from doing what you said you would do, doing everything they told you, and then for no fault of your own, it getting taken away. Like you doing everything in your life, and then at no fault of your own, you're getting told you have stage 4 lung cancer. That's when you really see the character of a person. That's when you find out what that person's about. When things aren't going good, when everything's down and out, when they have them excuses that are there, nobody would, bat an eye. That's when you find out who a person is.
And being on the cancer support groups also is, I'm helping so many people there with these videos, and not just the videos, my experiences. I just, a lady reached out to me today, said, I've heard you've had your lung drained. My husband's having it done tomorrow. Can you explain it to me? And, I was really able to give her that support that her and her husband needed. And that to me is just everything, because no one gave me any inkling. Like I said, I went into the ER all by myself. not knowing what to expect, thinking I'm going to get some kind of drugs, but you're wide awake for this this procedure. And next thing I know, they're telling me to swing my legs over the side of the bed, grab a TV tray, and lean over, and then they're jabbing me in the back, and I'm there for like hours. They took 2 gallons from my one lung. I had a collapsed lung. And Marge, large Marge, the only positive thing she's done for me was keep that lung intact. So that's, but I was carrying around all this fluid. So, just those experiences and being others' support, because I have a lot of support. And I think it was my first podcast, Donnie, you had asked me, how I want people to remember me. And I said, I just want them to remember me as being just a funny, funny person. And I think I want to add to that I want to also be remembered as one of the luckiest girls alive. I mean, it's hard to put into words.
The luckiest girl alive. You'll be remembered as that.
But I don't want people to forget, I was funny either, but I just want to add to
But
the
she
funniness.
was. They were like, why was she the luckiest person alive? I'm like, oh yeah, that part of the interview, yes, because she was my co-host. She said,
yeah,
and that
right.
was like making her the luckiest. She felt like,
like all the
that was,
support,
like, the unedited part.
I mean, and a reminder, like June 11th, I am super excited for this, and I can't put into words how grateful I am for the Punishers for doing this June 11th fundraiser, and I'm so looking forward to it. And even though I do take one day at a time because tomorrow's never promised for anyone, let alone me, I'm looking forward to it because you don't have to own a motorcycle, you don't have to ride, you just have to show up. And this is why I'm a lucky girl, because I have gained so many friends, so many family, friends who have become family, and that's why I want to add, just being a lucky girl.
Being the lucky girl. That's awesome. Awesome. June 11th, right? How can people find out more about that?
June 11th, I've been posting reminders on my Facebook. So, we'll definitely, there's going to be a DJ there. There's going to be 50-50 raffle, cash bar, which I know some people are very interested in. So that's going to be fun. So I keep posting reminders. Yeah. Yeah. But then, it's a struggle every day though, because I'm still fighting demons, even though I'm making these videos, I'm not going to share my bad days on social media, because that's not what I'm trying to give hope to people. And the last thing I want to do is be a negative Nancy on Facebook and say, I'm really depressed today. Because there's some days I really am. I'm not going to lie. Depressed as fuck some days.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people, just because things, you might not be in a horrible spot. Things still happen, even though, I have done better in my life. Bad days still happen. I still go through shit. And, we just now know how to handle them. You decide how you react to that or how you do that. We have Henry Perlman. He's tuning in for the first time. He's a TBI survivor.
All right, Henry.
Just checking out the show. Henry, thank you so much. I'm also a TBI survivor. We have Janine Kirby, who's always on. We do a lot with them.
Hey, girl, hey.
Candace Gant. And, we're just an inspirational podcast using my story of redemption, Angela's courageous battle with cancer, just to spread that hope to people, to show them, it don't matter what you're facing in life. Doesn't matter. Cancer, the death of a loved one, you're fighting some demon bigger than you could ever imagine. It doesn't matter, man. You can decide how you're going to fight that fight. You can win that fight. You can inspire the world just watching you fight that fight. Like Angela talks a lot about, how she thought, being younger and in such great shape and everything, and she got this cancer. Even when I was going through my stuff, I didn't understand, like, why somebody like me, I thought I was a pretty decent dude. Things were going, pretty good in life. We could always fix, but, I was on my way towards my dream, and I just asked, like, why me? Why am I going through this? That was like the things you ask in the beginning. And we always come back to that point. Like maybe there's somebody like Angela, who's another person who isn't the normal, doesn't expect to have this illness, this stage 4 lung cancer, and they're not going to be able to battle like Angela, and they're just going to give up, and they're not gonna keep the fight going like Angela's doing, and showing how courageous she is. And maybe that person, by seeing Angela, by seeing how she's going through this, instead of giving up, instead of quitting, maybe they'll fight even stronger just because of Angela. And maybe they'll go on to do amazing things all because of the inspiration they got from Angela. So sometimes we're not even fighting these battles for ourselves. It might be somebody, I always say, something bigger than us. And there was times where I didn't want to fight for myself. I'm sure Angela goes through. She said some days she just feels down and out, and she doesn't. We might not want to do this for ourselves. There was a lot of days when I first went through the death of my brother, and I was incarcerated, and I was so hopeless. I didn't want to fight for myself. I wasn't really, I had no fight left in me. But there was other people like Susan Pat Store, who still, even today, I was telling her son, like, no matter what day I can wake up and I can just hate myself, I can hate everything. I will move mountains just to prove this lady, to show this lady, this support she had in me and this hope she had in me was rightfully so. Same thing with Angela. She might move mountains for these supporters who watch her videos, who see her videos, and that might get you out of bed a little earlier, Angela. Might put a little more pep in your step.
Yeah,
And, kick ass for...
Yeah, and then sometimes, and it's a double-edged sword for me because, people want you to fight, and people want you to fight, and they want you to continue to fight, and it is sometimes easier said than done because, I am I am the one physically doing the fight, and sometimes, after fighting all of my life from childhood now to with just some terrible experiences and some history, because I do suffer from a history of eating disorders as well. So the weight gain that has happened with the fluid, the steroids, the medication, my chemo meds alone, every single one of them causes weight gain. So now I'm like, the eating disorder thing is coming back, and now I'm in a different size, instead of a size 0 or 2 gene, I am back in. So thank God I kept my other genes because I'm a different size now. So I struggle with all that. But, I don't want to sound ungrateful for those people telling me to fight because I am putting up the good fight. Sometimes you do think like, well, shit, like I've fought all my life, and sometimes you just get tired of doing that all the fucking time, So it's a double-edged sword some days.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's like that boxer who's in the ring just getting mauled and getting hit and hit and hit, and then that spectator in the first row like, come on, you bum, fight him. You're like, how about you get in here and do this?
Yeah, how about you? Right. So, but
how about you be Rocky?
Yeah. I do know that we're going to do another 2 rounds because I only have 2 more rounds left, and then we're going to do another set of scans. And then the results from those scans, I'll make a final decision, but I just don't, I'm on chemotherapy for life for people who are watching, and I just don't know if I want to do this for my entire life because it really restricts you. I can't just pack up and go to Florida and see my mother, and that's really what I want to do, but the chemo has you down for a certain amount of periods, and by the time you get better, you're back to getting chemo again just to get sick again. So I don't want to be restricted for the rest of my life and miss out on something and seeing the world at least a couple of times before, so but then I also, on the other end of that, I don't want people to think of me as a failure, or I'm giving up on life, and I'm giving up on chemo, and I'm giving up on the fight. So it really is a struggle. It's a struggle.
Yeah. So one thing I remember, people, even when I was so low, and I was like, people were like, oh, you can do this. Like the goals and dreams I had, they were just almost unrealistic, because how are you going to get a million miles when, you were so far away. So I stopped looking at that because the one thing in life I realized, you never know what's going to happen the next day. You do one thing, you put that foot forward, you do something positive, you do what the plan is for that one day. You do that one day plan. Hey, today I'm going to do chemo. Today I'm going to keep being positive. Today I'm going to keep kicking ass. And then one day, next thing you know, this is destiny, baby. This is destiny. You never know what's going to happen. I've seen mountains moved. I've seen them moved. You can never, I can't tell you what's going to happen in 2 years. If I would have told people I'd be where I was now, back in, from that prison cell floor, back in 2015, they would have laughed at me. It probably would have been impossible, they would have said. It would have been pretty close. You could have came up with a good argument for it. It would have been impossible. But I just kept on going day after day, just like you're doing, day after day. Don't get caught up with the bigger picture. If you're, sometimes life beats us up and it takes us a while to get down that low. Like, it just doesn't happen overnight. So don't think life's going to change or get better overnight. Don't think you're going to have everything you want. Because sometimes it takes time, but just never, like I always said, I never took that step backwards. There were days and there was weeks and maybe months, maybe years where I probably stayed still. I was hanging on, man. I was fighting for everything. And I refused to let go. I came close, but I didn't let go. I never went backwards. As long as you don't go backwards, you keep on not even going forward, to stay in that spot, just refusing to get pushed back, refusing to give up. Amazing things are going to happen in life. Who knows where your journey is going to take you, Angela, but I've seen mountains moved.
Yeah, I mean, like, I live day by day, and that's all I can, do, because you never know what could happen. I mean, it is what it is, but I am looking forward to, the two things I am looking forward to in the future is that fundraiser, and I am dead set on making that fundraiser. And I'm also
June 11th?
June 11th, yep.
June 11th.
June 11th. And I'm also looking forward to, I'd never thought I would say this ever in my life, but I'm looking forward to my birthday. I'll be the big 4-0, and I just want to make it. I want to make it to my birthday, so in July. So those are my two future plans, but you never know. I'll just be grateful if I make both.
I'll have my birthday hat on, celebrating.
Yeah, the big 4-0. I can't believe it.
The one quote I want to leave people with, another Jimmy V quote, goes perfect with everything Angela's doing, with how she's inspiring people with her fight with cancer. She's using laughter to inspire people while she's fighting this chemotherapy. So here's a quote straight from Jimmy V. If you laugh, if you think, if you cry, that's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something special.
I knew you were going to come with that. That's my favorite one of Jimmy V. Yes.
Yeah, man. I love it. It's no coincidence. My brother loved it. You go through, it's all this never give up, this Jimmy V stuff. And, now here we are doing this Hungry for Hope that puts a lot of what Jimmy V said into perspective. And there were so many days where my brother, I swear, he would show me on the laptop, even back when the computer, AOL, he would show me this Jimmy V speech, and I never understood why. And things happen in life. It's crazy. Sometimes we don't even see, but destiny can't be messed with. Hope everybody listening tonight got some kind of hope. Angela, what kind of hope do you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, we listen, I got you, babe. You guys got me, and I got you. Sonny was so happy to be here today. So, just keep up. Keep your spirits up. That's all.
And never give up. Never give up. Hope. Hungry for Hope Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next week.